Hey, what's up, Guardians? TBL here from PlanetDestiny. And today, patch 1.2.0 finally went live, and we are here to cover that bad boy in its entirety. We are going to be very quickly going over the patch notes and then covering some of the hotfixes that are going to go live on May 19th when the House of Wolves becomes available. But alright, let's dive on in. Bungie starts us off by saying, Destiny Expansion 2 will change the way we all play and upgrade our characters. Before the release of House of Wolves, we're deploying a new code that will impact the player experience. And now the first section of the patch notes covers weapon changes, and there are a lot of them, so we're going to be going over them very quickly. First off, they fixed an issue in which the Vex Mythoclast was not respawning with primary ammunition. Now this is something I've actually experienced once or twice, where basically you just spawn in with a Mythoclast and the ammo empties itself out for whatever reason. Glad that's getting addressed. Next up, fixed an issue with the Hive Disruptor perk, which now appears in the Black Hammer perk set once again. Finally. Shortly after the release of Crota's End, people started getting the legendary Black Hammer sniper rifle, and it was very quickly discovered that activating the Hive Disruptor perk would pretty much deactivate the White Nail perk, which restores your ammunition upon landing 3 precision shots. This was of course pretty devastating to the weapon considering its small mag size, so Bungie wound up removing the Hive Disruptor perk entirely. But it looks like we're finally getting that back, and I can't wait to have that nice yellow outline. Next up, they fixed an issue in which the Phantom Gift and White Nail perks would become interrupted when non-precision damage occurred from other perks. Now an example of this would be bonus damage from other perks like Explosive Rounds or Hive Disruptor, interrupting the White Nail and Phantom Gift perk. Well, with this patch, that is no longer the case, meaning you can now use your Black Hammer and your Word of Crota to the fullest extent. Landing those 3 precision hits within the time window will now trigger the intended refund bonus. Excellent news all around. Next up, they've also fixed an issue in which the Hive Disruptor perk did not work correctly with the sustained damage events for auto rifles, pulse rifles, or etc. Basically, sustained fire weapons like auto rifles and pulse rifles wouldn't trigger the Hive Disruptor perk on every single hit. That's been addressed and fixed in this patch. And along with that change comes a boon to the Vault of Glass weapons as well, as the Oracle Disruptor perk will now trigger more often, meaning oracles will be easier to destroy. And finally, the Hive Disruptor perk will now also trigger more often, but it does less damage per event. And that pretty much covers it for all of the patch note changes for weapons. You know, there was a lot of focus on Crota's End weapons, and it'll be nice to finally be able to use the Black Hammer and the Word of Crota to their fullest extent. I know me personally, I'm happy to just finally have that nice yellow border around my Black Hammer once again. But alright, moving on, here are a couple of changes to PvP. In the salvage game mode, the relic has been moved to more consistently appear in a centralized position on the map. This is an attempt to balance out the gameplay a bit, so that no one team spawn outweighs another in terms of favorability towards reaching the relic. And next up, they've also fixed an issue that caused players to wait an excessively long time to respawn. Now that's something I've dealt with a lot in the Crucible. You know, where every once in a while your respawn timer will just be abnormally long. You have to wait the upwards of 15 to 20 seconds before you can get back into the action. Definitely glad that's getting addressed. But alright, let's move on to some of the changes that have come to the tower in this patch. First off, faction reward packages will now no longer produce shards. Oh man, how many of you guys have opened up a faction package from Dead Orbit or Future War Cult and then got nothing but Ascendant shards and energy? Thankfully, that's being addressed. Next up, the speaker will now exchange Ascendant and Radiant materials for Glimmer and Motes of Light. This is huge. Now this of course is one of the changes that was shown off in the Reef Ride Along livestream, and is basically a way for you to cut down on both materials and currencies. I know personally I've got hundreds of Ascendant and Radiant materials, so having the option to exchange those for either Glimmer or Motes of Light is absolutely huge. And now additionally, Xur will also exchange Strange Coins for Motes of Light, so the number of ways in which you can receive Motes of Light has been greatly increased. Definitely a great change in my opinion. Now in a double commendation whammy, commendations are no longer required to purchase gear, and those commendations can now be converted to receive 250 point gains in Vanguard, Crucible, or Faction Reputation. This one actually caught me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it until House of Wolves actually goes live next week. For most of the Guardians out there, we really haven't used commendations since the first week or two when they were available. Once you got raid gear, which is extremely easy to get from Crota's End, you didn't really need the Vanguard or Crucible commendations for their armor. So if you're anything like me and you've been playing quite a bit, you've racked up quite a number of Vanguard and Crucible commendations. And now that you can use those to basically boost your Vanguard, Crucible, or faction reputation by a whopping 250 points, oh man, I'm super happy about that. Definitely a great change. And as a final note under the tower section, Etheric Light will not be made available for Ascending gear until the release of House of Wolves. So if you're expecting Gear Ascension to be available today, unfortunately you're going to have to wait until May 19th. But alright, that covers most of the big changes in 1.2.0's patch notes. Bungie does, however, issue a quick warning though concerning legendary engrams. Apparently, there are certain legendary engrams that will drop within patch 1.2.0 that the Cryptarch will not recognize. They recommend that you hold on to all newly acquired purple engrams until May 19th to benefit from their upgraded decryption skill set. So basically, hold on to those purples, people, at least until May 19th. But alright, the next thing that we're going to cover is information provided within the hotfix. Now it's definitely important to note that the following is a preview of changes that will take effect on May 19th, on or somewhere around 10 a.m. Pacific time, with the manual activation of House of Wolves. So basically, the stuff that we're about to cover will not be in effect until May 19th. But alright, with that being said, let's take a look at the hotfix. Now the first section covers general changes to PvP. And in that regard, they've added a brand new daily reward package upon completing the first game in the daily featured Crucible playlist. Basically meaning that when you participate in the daily featured Crucible playlist that's sitting usually right above the daily story mission, you are guaranteed after your first match to receive a reward package. Pretty good incentive to play in the featured playlist if you ask me. Now additionally, they've also added passage coins to the reward streams across all Crucible playlists, including the daily reward package. Well wait TBL, what are passage coins you ask? Passage coins are the currency that you can use to buy Trials of Osiris consumables from Brother Vance in the Reef. You'll have a chance at getting those just from playing in the Crucible. Next up, they've increased the drop rate for both Crucible marks and Crucible reputation points by 100%. Essentially, you're going to be earning double the amount of marks and rep from each and every Crucible match. This is another huge change, since you'll basically be able to max out your marks in half the time, and you'll be gaining double reputation points for just playing in the Crucible. Fantastic change in my opinion. Now, next up, they've also added legendary weapon drops into the Crucible reward stream across all playlists. So now you no longer either get an exotic or a rare weapon, you have an option to pick up legendaries all throughout the Crucible. As I recall beforehand, you could only get legendaries from Iron Banner, so this is definitely a welcome change. And finally, they've added Dark Below maps into all Crucible playlists for all players to enjoy. These maps are Pantheon, the Cauldron, and finally Skyshock. But alright, branching off from the Crucible section come a couple of changes to the Iron Banner. First of which, they've adjusted the power curve for Iron Banner playlists to accommodate the competitive range of power in House of Wolves. Basically, they're adjusting player power output to accommodate for the brand new level 33s and 34s as well as the brand new weapons and armors. Next, across one Iron Banner event, players competing in Iron Banner with more than one character on the same account will receive a reputation boost for the lower rank characters to reach parity with the higher rank character more quickly. So basically, if you play the Iron Banner with more than one character, your lower rank character will get a reputation point boost. It's an attempt to help you level up that second character more quickly. Next up, 6 additional Iron Banner bounties have been added to the bounty rotation, and they removed an errant buff from Iron Banner control playlists. Finally, Etheric Light will now be available from the Iron Banner at ranks 3 and 5, meaning Old Lord Saladin will be a valuable source for Etheric Light. And finally, the hotfix brings up a couple of changes to the tower. First of which, the Cryptarch will no longer convert newly acquired legendary engrams to shards. In lieu of that, you'll instead have the possibility to get new gear, weapons, or exotics. This is a fantastic change. Just like the previous change before it that prevented the Cryptarch from turning your legendaries into rares, this one has certainly been a long time coming. But alright, next up, Daily Heroics will now produce Motes of Light in lieu of shards. Another fantastic change considering Motes of Light are going to be pretty important in House of Wolves. And finally, Ascending. Year 1 legendary and exotic gear can be upgraded to the highest power levels available in Year 1. This is the big ticket item, Guardians. And as you all know, basically you will be able to utilize Etheric Light to upgrade your old legendaries and exotics to the new max attack of 365. Oh, Fatebringer, here I come. and I know you guys can't wait for that. But alright, that's pretty much it for the biggest changes in patch 1.2.0, as well as some of the changes coming in the hotfix that'll go live on May 19th. And now I will say again that the last section of hotfix changes is not going into effect today. You guys will be able to see that next Tuesday on May 19th. But alright, that's it for this one, guys. Make sure you stay tuned to Planet Destiny for more coverage and information on patch 1.2.0, the upcoming hotfix, and the House of Wolves. Anyways, I'm out for now. As always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.